My name is Susanna Meyer, and this is my reflection on the leadership interview. Before the interview, I thought of leadership of mostly being the person in charge, the person with the plan, the person who knows the answer. After reviewing Mr. Morel, I realized leadership is a lot more complicated and a lot more human than that. The interview itself was an actual adventure. I drove an hour out to meet him at a cafe. I got there early because I mixed up the times because I was so nervous in this interview. But it actually worked out in my favor since I had time to calm down and get over my nerves. By the end of this interview, I felt a little relieved and a little embarrassed by how nervous I had been, but also excited because I learned a lot out of this, and a lot more than I expected. The biggest thing that stuck out with me was his description of leadership as being in the boat with your people. When he first said that, my mind immediately jumped to two images. One was George Washington crossing the Delaware with his soldiers. The second was Jesus in the boat with his disciples in that stormy day. Both images had something in common. The leader was not standing safely on the shore giving instructions. The leader was in the middle of the situation with everybody else. That idea connected with me strongly with my understanding of Christian leadership. Jesus never led from a distance. He led among the people. He served them. He experienced hardship with them, taught them, encouraged them, and ultimately sacrificed himself for us. The more I thought about the boat metaphor, the more I realized that leadership is not about avoiding problems. It's about sharing them. One thing I found interesting was that Mr. Morel's leadership was built on confidence rather than arrogance. There is a difference between two. Arrogance says, I know the answer. Confidence says, we will find the answer together. As I reflected on the interview, I realized not all leaders know exactly how to solve every problem. What makes them leaders is that they believe a solution exists and they help everyone keep moving forward until they find it. That idea challenged my own assumptions about leadership. I often think leadership requires having all the answers. Mr. Morel showed me that leadership is often about helping people stay calm and focused while searching for answers together. Another lesson that stood out was his belief that people mattered more than projects. As an animator and an artist, this idea hit me especially hard. Creative industries and creatives themselves have a reputation for pushing people and themselves beyond healthy limits. Artists skip meals, lose sleep, work long hours, and sometimes sacrifice their health for a project, or even their personal project. Mr. Morel takes the opposite approach. He believes that projects are more important, but people are most important. That perspective reminded me of servant leadership and of Christ's example. Jesus consistently valued people above accomplishments, status, and outcomes. Mr. Morel's philosophy reflects that same principle. I learned something from one of his weaknesses. One weakness he identified having trouble with difficult conversations and holding people accountable. Surprising, this may have been one of the more valuable lessons to me than anything else, because I struggle with this same thing. As an artist, I understand how difficult feedback can be. Art is very subjective and personal. When someone critiques your work, it can feel like they're critiquing a part of you. Because of that, and coming off as rude or mean, I often avoid conflict and difficult discussions. However, this interview helped me realize that accountability is not the opposite of kindness. Sometimes accountability is kindness. If a leader never corrects the problem, the team suffers. The project suffers. The individual suffers. Also with a loss of opportunity to grow. This idea connects directly to Kouzou's and Pointer's practices of modeling the way and challenging the process. A leader has to be willing to address problems even when the conversations are uncomfortable. Finally, this interview changed how I think about leadership in general. Before this course, I rarely saw myself as a leader. I saw myself as someone who worked behind the scenes making systems and functions better. During this interview, I realized leadership is not always about being the loudest voice in the room or the person at the top of an organization. Sometimes leadership is noticing a problem and helping them fix it. Sometimes leadership is encouraging someone who's discouraged. Sometimes leadership is helping other people discover talents they did not know they had. Sometimes leadership is simply getting into the boat and helping people row. In conclusion, this interview reinforced many of the lessons from the Leadership Challenge and from our discussions about Christian leadership. Leadership is not about power, position, or authority. It is about serving people, encouraging growth, challenging problems, and walking alongside others. The image I will remember most is still about the boat. A good leader is not standing safely on the shore shouting directions. A good leader is in the boat with everyone else, helping them guide forward. That is the kind of leader I hope to become.